You get 90 seconds. And so I wanted to share with you what he drew versus what I drew. Now, we both have the same 90 seconds. And I want you to kind of wrinkle this back to bringing on expertise as partners to your venture, whatever you're building. Like, what is the point? And I'm not an expert. I just have 38 more years of experience than he does. And I'm certainly not an expert. But man, what would an expert do with 90 seconds? There's a way to do it, which is the way that my son would do it, which is basic and amateur and slow and no system or process and very, very rudimentary. And then there's the way that I might do it. And then there's a way that an absolute expert is going to do it, which I can't really account for, but we can extrapolate and just think that is probably fantastic. And so I wanted to share a couple of my son versus me, same 90 seconds. He said, I want to make a campsite. We're going to be on a river. It's going to be sunny out, and there's got to be a fire in the campsite. And so 90 seconds, shot clock is on, and 90 seconds later, holding all the crayons incorrectly and everything, just trying to make a legible picture. The kid's 4 years old. This is what he drew. And so to me, when I had him explain it, this right here was the tent. This was like the forest around the tent to show that we're in the woods. This was supposed to turn into the fire pit area, and the river was going to be over here. He simply ran out of time. I see it. I see it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's just my son. I see it. Same 90 seconds comes around. And this is what I drew. And so I'm no artist. I don't claim to be an artist. Mildly creative person. Not my medium. But my 38 years of experience gave me the opportunity to have this picture in my head, to think about what the brilliant basics are, and to really capture the essence of what was supposed to have been created. And this is a little bit of what we specialize in, just like on a much more professional scale, is taking an idea out of somebody's head and building the right thing to communicate the problem. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stand-up. Just me for today. My partner is out. The other Bash brother just getting some family time and taking a little vacation. And he deserves it, right? So just me for today. I figured I'd come on here. I have a couple topics on my head. I was doing something this morning at the kitchen table with my son, and I figured it was kind of relevant to a lot of the things that we talk about. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about what it means to build good, better, best, and what does it mean to just get it right first and legible and get it to a point where it solves the problem. And so we see this all the time in building businesses and building software. It's like, what is that minimum viable thing? And so we're all aware of like the minimum viable product. But in such a competitive technology space, especially just even in business in general, the minimum viable product could be massive, right? So for example, if you were trying to build like a minimum viable beverage company this morning around me, like shout out to Bloom. This is not a sponsored episode, maybe one day, but like, I just like it. It's delicious. And so think about what it would be to create a minimum viable product in the canned beverage space. Like, there's a playbook of what that minimum viability looks like. And so in software, you could also wrinkle it the same way. So imagine lots of times people want to come to us and they say, well, I want to build it like DoorDash. I want to build it like, Airbnb has this functionality, or, if Uber can do it, I feel like we can do it too, especially with AI. Just let the AI have at it. Okay. So, right. Silly. So, in my world, we think about like, what are the other minimums? Because minimum viability, even the word viable by definition, doesn't necessarily fit what we're hoping to get from minimum viable, most people's misconception of what minimum viable is. And so, there are other minimums. There's minimum imaginative product. So that's like you laying in bed, and that's like what you dream up, and maybe the thing that you write on the back of the napkin, or the thing that you like plug into Claude to like see if it can flesh out your business idea. That's that minimum imaginative product. Then there's like minimum marketable product. So like we often talk about inception marketing. I have an entire course around inception marketing. What are all the things that you can do at your disposal without spending a dollar on marketing? It's all to catch a pulse of the market. It's all to see if you can identify your initial customers, or if you have competition, or if anybody's even having a conversation around this particular problem that you have. And so that minimum marketable product, lots of times people think that they need a physical thing in hand. They have to have built the thing, they have to have started the thing, they have to have produced the thing in order to begin marketing it. But marketing is a full life cycle. And so just maybe going out into the world and asking, should this exist? Is this good enough? Is this idea even worthy of existing? Would somebody exchange a dollar with me for that thing? So that's called minimum marketing. I was actually even going to share my screen here. It's on our channel. If anybody's interested in it, I created it some time ago, but it definitely still holds water. So, yeah, I mean, just strictly from nowhere, our coursework. So if you come to Strictly From Nowhere and you just look at the channel page, if you take a look at courses, I have the entire Inception Marketing for Software Startups coursework here. I think there's like 5 or 6 or 7 videos, something like that. Yeah, 7 videos. And this kind of goes through all the different pieces of what I call inception marketing. It's like just testing that idea stage, like getting out of that minimum imaginative product and getting into the minimum marketable product. And so this is a little bit of a playbook about how I see that, all without spending a dollar, right? Just a little bit of time. Even with AI right now, this all becomes a little bit easier. Have at it. I'd love to get some feedback from the channel. Like if anybody's even interested, if this has helped anybody, that'd be really cool. So, okay, the other minimums could be like a minimum buyable product, right? So you have a thing that you can exchange for cash, but I challenge you to think about this. Like, what about the crowdsource frameworks like Kickstarter? Lots of times the minimum buyable thing, like what people are willing to exchange cash for, doesn't even exist yet. They're just trying to crowdfund some cash rather than take on institutional investors or debt or whatever other vehicle people want to use to try and build their first prototype or first run of a product or something like that. So just think about that. Like, what is the minimum buyable? People are all over the world are exchanging real hard cash for nothing, for a hope, for an IOU. Right? So think about it from that Kickstarter perspective. So I encourage you, like, again, this is kind of hard to do if you're thinking about like a physical product. But then we talk about the Kickstarters of the world. So I think wrinkle your mind around that just a little bit. You have other milestone-based minimums. So what is your minimum investable product? Those are the types of products that have to exist, but they don't have to exist in their absolute full fidelity. They have to exist enough that somebody can interact with it, that somebody can get the gist. And so lots of times we see this as like either prototypes, working prototypes. This could be, data dumb software solutions. If I was going to make a minimum investable, I'd probably use like a sticker on a can, just get like generic cans and maybe do the canning in my own garage, bottling in my own garage just to get the samples out there. Would somebody be willing to get on this ride with me? I mean, you could think about this from any business, right? Like my world is software, and I'm just fascinated by consumer products, especially, shelf stable products I think that's a really fascinating category to try and be competitive in. So I always try to wrinkle it back to multiple categories. So there's all these minimums. And we talk about this all the time because businesses come to us. I build startups. I build software for other people for a living at this point in my life. And that's what Cause of a Kind does as an agency. We work for hire. So people come to us with these big ideas, usually in this imaginative state, or they have a little bit of a proof of concept built. These days, we see like a lot of prototyping done in like either a Replit or a V0 or Base 44 or whatever else, right? Whatever else. Lovable is, of course, on the table as well. And so we see lots of prototypes now. I'm seeing lots of RFPs. I'm seeing lots of scopes of work, lots of things that the AI is doing these days that really didn't exist in this world maybe two and a half years ago. And so, one of the things that we do to help people figure out like what is actually that the minimums. There's different minimums in this adventure. You know, where do we begin? And so what I specialize in and what me and my partner specialize in is taking that big idea out of your brain or out of your paperwork that you've created or your prototype or whatever, and figure out, work with you to build what is going to turn into a business. And so while we build the software, that's great. Lots of tools that are out there to build the software. It's about building the right piece of software. It's about getting the right solution, the right user experience, the right technology, the right infrastructure, the right stack, all the decisions that we make. It could be the emotional stuff, the right design. It could be the right brand identity. It could be the right voice. Like there's lots of different pieces to go through as we build an initial business. And so, you know, it's about building the right thing at the right time. And lots of times, especially now with AI, we want to build all the things. We want to just give the whole problem to the AI and say, have at it over the course of a weekend. And what I think is interesting about that is not that that's necessarily wrong, but at what point in your build are you aware of what the right thing was for your customer or for the world? You know, if you just let the AI build everything, all of the features that could be possible in your big idea, which one of those is your killer feature? Which one of those features is just bloat? In the age of like performance, speed, especially if we're going to do these things through the browser and use like web application land, why have all this feature bloat? Why just build everything that you could possibly build? So the minimums, the discipline of building like this, that is really where the strategic skill set comes from. That's where the years of experience, the decades of experience, when you see engineers that have 15, 20, 30 years experience at this point building software, it's the discipline. You couldn't have just built it all in a weekend. That just like wasn't a thing. It's almost like insulting to the career path. And I'm not an engineer. I feel bad for these people. But the part that I feel bad about is that the accuracy, the discipline to build the right thing, that seems to be kind of falling by the wayside a little bit. And so I encourage everybody to kind of think a little bit differently, you know, about how you measure the various moments of you building your business. Do you need everything at once on day one? Or should we still iterate with discipline? Should we still be looking for early feedback? Should we still be practicing agile? Just because we can build everything all at once doesn't mean that we should. And so I'm sitting at the dinner table, kitchen table with my son this morning, and he's really taken to drawing. He just loves art in general. Not a surprise, art runs in my family. I'm surrounded by creatives. I'm not surprised at all that my son likes basically two, maybe three forms of art tremendously. If you can guess one of them, stickers. Apple doesn't fall far, I guess. He loves sticker collages. And that's just him. Like we buy him like an assortment of stickers, and he just on canvas or paper creates like an on theme crazy collage, just like dad. And I think that that's awesome. I personally love that. The other one that he's taking through is general sketching. And the other one is painting. And this morning we're sitting at the table and sketching, and we're working on rapid sketching. So think like Pictionary. If you're familiar with the game Pictionary, you have a certain amount of time, typically on a little sand timer, hourglass sand timer, and you get a certain amount of time, maybe it's like 60 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever it is, to draw a thing that is legible enough for somebody to recognize it and either win the round or lose the round. And by your partner recognizing what it is, you win. If they can't recognize what it is, similar to like charades or something, but with drawing, well, then you lose. And so I was doing this with my son. 90 seconds. You get 90 seconds. And so I wanted to share with you what he drew versus what I drew. Now, we both have the same 90 seconds. And I want you to kind of wrinkle this back to bringing on expertise as partners to your venture, whatever you're building. Like, what is the point? And I'm not an expert. I just have 38 more years of experience than he does. And I'm certainly not an expert. But man, what would an expert do with 90 seconds? And so this is kind of the way that I think about building software. There's a way to do it, which is the way that my son would do it, which is basic and amateur and slow and no system or process and very, very rudimentary. And then there's the way that I might do it. And then there's a way that an absolute expert is going to do it, which I can't really account for, but we can extrapolate and just think that is probably fantastic. And so I wanted to share a couple of my son versus me, same 90 seconds. Gets the job done, right? If you're trying to explain what it is to somebody, if you're trying to get somebody's buy-in, it certainly gets the job done. So the first 90 seconds, my son shouted it out and he said, I want to make a campsite. We're going to be on a river. It's going to be sunny out. And there's got to be a fire in the campsite. And so 90 seconds, shot clock is on. And 90 seconds later, holding all the crayons incorrectly and everything, just trying to make a legible picture. The kid's 4 years old. This is what he drew. And so to me, when I had him explain it, this right here was the tent. This was like the forest around the tent to show that we're in the woods. This was supposed to turn into the fire pit area, and the river was going to be over here. He simply ran out of time. I see it. I see it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's just my son. I see it. Same 90 seconds comes around, and this is what I drew. And so I'm no artist. I don't claim to be an artist, mildly creative person, not my medium. But my 38 years of experience gave me the opportunity to have this picture in my head, to think about what the brilliant basics are, and to really capture the essence of what was supposed to have been created. And this is a little bit of what we specialize in, just like on a much more professional scale, is taking an idea out of somebody's head and building the right thing to communicate the problem. And so I want to show one more. I think these two are just in contrast. Same 90 seconds, same outcome. This was supposed to just be a sea turtle. Same 90 seconds. Generally the same place. Why did it take 90 seconds for him to create maybe 5 circles or so? Lots of reasons. There was probably a bird outside that he got distracted by, or his sister walks in the room, or some other thing that stole the time from him, versus me, not that I'm the greatest artist, but what I was able to accomplish with the same amount of time, using the same tools, just maybe with a little bit more of an experience and an image in my head to figure out what I wanted to create. And so it's just a silly little game. It's really a kid's art game. But what I find really interesting about it is the way that I'm teaching my son to think about solving problems is with the constraints of life. Time constraints, cash constraints, staff constraints, whatever it might be. It sounds like entrepreneurship, and it sounds like small business, sounds like sole proprietor businesses. You're constrained. And so what do you output for the same constraints that everybody else has is based on experience. It's based on leveraging the tools in system-oriented ways. It has to do with building the right thing, building the right system, building the right team member, building the right relationships, just building the right thing with the allotted time or with the allotted limitation that you have. And so this just kind of came to me this morning. It really has to do with creating the right thing, the right fidelity of the right thing for the moment that you're at. Think realistically. Right? Going through your minimums, trying to figure out what is the basic thing that you need to build for each phase, deploying some discipline when building something. Building everything is not impressive. Building the right thing accurately that people love is what's impressive. And so, thanks for taking the journey with me. A little bit of a kid's story this morning, but it's a relevant ramble for business owners and people that are trying to innovate in their lives. And don't forget to check out Inception Marketing. If it's valuable to you, it's free. I never felt like monetizing it before, but maybe it's worth a listen. Maybe it'll help you somewhere. Have a great one.